Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming to our High Side third anniversary panel discussions. This is a exciting day for us, especially after what happened last year. We are very excited to celebrate our third year anniversary with you folks. And the reason we are here today is like to hear about people from the industry and what their experience was and what they're planning on doing. Also, kind of check on status on everyone else. So my name is Jensen, as you guys all know me. Would like to introduce everybody so we know who we are talking to right now. So Gage, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Gage from Sequitur Beer Project. We are a Brooklyn-based. Uh, we were a contract brewery, and now we're transitioning into opening our own tap room and ultimately production facility here in Brooklyn. We've been around for
Mhm.
about a year and a half, and we started out doing pop-up events and pop-up tap rooms across the five boroughs uh, pre-COVID, and of course, events have ceased. But the other piece of our business that was really important is thoughtful hoppy beers. We make a lot of IPA with cool, funky hops and processes and yeast, and then we donate a portion of our proceeds every month to a different charity, typically New York City or Brooklyn focused
Mhm.
charity. Um, and now we're setting down roots in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and we've started working on that. Started the ball rolling in that process. So we'll be open in the next couple of months and brewing there later this year.
Very exciting. Liz, your turn.
Sure. I am Elizabeth Trax. Most people who know me on Instagram or Facebook, I'm a photographer. Most people know me as Eli Trax. So I do freelance beer photography, and I actually am down here now by way of Virginia, down in Dallas Fort Worth area, and I'm actually working and doing marketing and photography and content creation and all that fun creative stuff for a brewery down here in Dallas Fort Worth called Turning Point Beer. Um, and work a little in my tap room too, so I kind of do everything down there for them.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I'm really miss seeing you. Jake, your turn.
Hey everybody, I'm Jake Endres. I'm co-owner at Crooked Run. We are a Virginia-based brewery in Northern Virginia. So I was head brewer for the first 6 years. We're now coming on year 8, and now I do production management and more of the creative aspect. My partner Leland Rogan handles operations, and we have a head brewer named McKinnon Leonard, who's taken over a lot of stuff in the brew house for me. And in addition to having now 2 locations, we started as a little nano back in 2013. We have a restaurant that does brunch and cocktails connected as well. And now I just kind of spend my time working on new beers, kind of moving everything forward and dealing with COVID and all the stuff that goes along with it. So glad to be here.
All right. Thank you, Jake. Justin, your turn.
Hey guys, Justin Desmarais with Ally Craft Distribution here out of Richmond. We've been open and running for about 2.5 years, servicing accounts all over Virginia and DC. Accounts like Highside, Happy Anniversary, Jensen.
Thank you.
Yeah, just bring a lot of cool brands to your bottle shops and restaurants, and cool brands like Crooked Run and Non Sequitur. Work with them both. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, thank you everybody for introducing yourself. And so last year has been incredible hard for almost everybody, especially in our industry. So a lot of people, everybody try to their best to pivot and do something a little bit different here and there. And for high side, we have shut down our main dining room and converted into a bottle shop, and that's why we start to get a bunch of beer from Justin, non-secular beer start to load up on our shelf as well, and that helps us a lot. Even though packaged beer margin is not as great, but it helps. So that's kind of what we are at now. Our main dining room is actually a bottle shop, and then we have a smaller dining room that we can put in a few tables, and then mostly outdoor the rest of it. So that's kind of how we pivot and start to convert that into a bottle shop and expand our operation to not just dining, but also start to do a little bit more packaging beer. And for this year, because of COVID still, we usually throw a big party for our anniversary. We can't really do it this year. That's why we doing this virtual events, and we would love to hear how you guys pivot and what's the status of you guys currently. And if you can tell us more about that, we'd love to learn about it. Gage, can you share more about what happened?
For sure. So, like I said in the intro there, we were events focused. We were doing 2 or 3 bar events a week, plus a big pop-up every month, give or take. And COVID hit right after the New York City Beer Week launch event, it was a week, all week long, but we got to have our big first beer festival, and we threw an emo night dance party after, which I still, talk to people from different breweries and different distributors who said, "Oh, I was in town and I made my way in there, and that was the craziest beer event I've seen in a long time." So March 15th rolls around, and we had to stop doing that entirely, which was a huge bummer. And we were lucky enough to be small. We didn't, at that point, make a lot of beer. We made 1 beer a month. I'm the only person who does anything for us other than our contract facilities. So there was no staff to cut off. There was no massive stock or production rolling that we had to worry about. And New York State was kind enough to give us home delivery and shipping. So I just said, all right, well, I also don't own a car because it's New York, but I rented a car almost every day, and I would drive to the Bronx once a week to pick up cans out of the cold box and then deliver them to people all over town. And, it came to a point, actually, because we were so can focused in the first place, we were able to move to a new facility in Red Hook, Brooklyn in June, where we are now. And over the course of the last few months, between then and now, tripled our production. So we make a 20-barrel batch a week as opposed to 130 a month. And we now have distribution not only New York statewide, but we're occasionally in Virginia, as you guys know. Thanks, Justin. Occasionally in PA, Massachusetts, Maine, and Oregon. So as we're doing a lot of collaborations and trying to get beer into our friends' markets, and just getting beer out there, because there's a big demand for canned beer or packaged beer at this point. So, and we've seen a lot of really positive response. A lot of people are really interested. And I mean, I don't know it, but we have a pretty brand that stands out on shelves as well. So it certainly doesn't hurt that it looks good. And so we parlayed that into this taproom thing, because ultimately I'm sure you would hear from anybody, the hardest part now is having to rely entirely on wholesale. Anybody who's ever contracted exclusively would have to say it's really difficult to say I have to make X amount of beer every single time at a certain clip once a week, basically. And then have a distributor call you up and say, "Oh, well, this time I only need half of that. So figure out the rest." It can be a crunch. So now we'll have our own place to deal with it, should anything ever get funky. And I'm excited. We get to build our own space that's really ours. We've cultivated an identity over the last year and a half, and doing pop-ups always meant taking over someone else's fleshed out space. So now we'll have ours, which will be full of 1 million plants, pink walls, and lots of French bulldog statues, and Nelson all the time.
Hey, Nelson.
So that was our year.
That's awesome, Gage. I got to say, your label looks really definitely stand out on the shelf, and Nelson face is all with a can, and people love it. And obviously the beer is good, and that helps a lot too. But the label is really awesome.
Yeah, we got really lucky. We partnered up with a guy, Mike Neon Dinosaur, who is just a friend of a friend, his buddy's roommate for a while, and I just give him at absolute most I give him names. Sometimes I'll even just say, "You name the beer. You know the format. Pick something that seems like it would fit the mold." This beer woke up like this, which we packaged Monday. I had no say. I just was like, "You get me a label. It's an IPA. I'd love to see what you come up with," and it's super fun and really stands out.
Yeah.
Woke up like this speaks to a lot of things, and it as a name fits. So we're really lucky that we have a great designer who kills it. By the time this comes out, the fart label will be out. I'll let you guys figure out what that
Well, that sounds very exciting. I'm glad you guys are able to pivot out and still stay afloat. Good. So, Liz, tell us more about what happened after you moved from Virginia to Texas.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I left Virginia for a corporate photography job. Unfortunately, won't get into all the details, but the company got bought out and I found myself laid off. Thankfully, I had really good roots in the beer world. I'd been doing freelance photography up in Virginia. I was doing freelance photography for Aslan for a few years. So that was thankfully I had that as a backup. And I moved down here and was new to the area, and kind of obviously as a beer person just started diving into the beer scene, and was a huge fan of Turning Point before I started working for them. I actually was going there pretty regularly while I still had a job, and then I got laid off and they were like, "So what are you doing?" Which was great because it's not fun to move states and find yourself in that position. So yeah, I mean, I've been there for about a year and a half now, and this year was a really interesting year to be working full time in the beer world. Previously, I'd just been doing freelance photography, so now I'm more in the brand management, creative, handling marketing, social media, content creation, all the good things. So as the person that's trying to bring people into the tap room and help facilitate sales and make money in the middle of COVID, that can be pretty challenging when the tap room shut down. I think in Texas, we are not as much in lockdown as when I talk to some of my friends up in Virginia or New York. We're actually now allowed to be reopen. Our tap room's allowed to be reopen at 50% capacity, which is great. Bars, like pure bars, are totally shut down or operating less unless they have outdoor seating. So it's really just been a game of being adaptable as best you can. So it's like when we were shut down, we just went to go sales. Unfortunately for Texas, even though I think we're a little bit looser on the restrictions of being reopened, the beer shipping laws here are not. So you are not allowed to ship beer in Texas, which is a major bummer. So when we noticed, when bars were shut down and restaurants were shut down, we lost all that distribution ability. Wineries, however, are allowed to ship beer to customers, but breweries are not. So basically, yeah, no, it was not great. It's still not great. So we went to a strictly to go option, and that's what a lot of places did for a long time. They were being really hard on breweries down here, and I think the Texas Alcohol and Beverage Commission finally was like, enough breweries closed and enough people were like, we're not gonna be able to last because restaurants aren't buying beer, bars aren't buying beer, we can't ship beer. So they allowed, if 51% of your sales are from other things, whether it's merch or food trucks on site, then you are allowed to reopen at 50%. So that's kind of how Texas handled it, which I think is a little bit different than most other places, especially places I've lived and have friends in the Northeast. So it's been a rough year. But I mean, I think hopefully we're on the upside of that with things, with vaccines coming out and being able to still operate and just really being like quick on our feet, adaptable, and trying to find creative ways to still, survive in this mess.
Yeah. So I haven't seen you post a lot of picture lately. Have you still are you not doing any freelance photography anymore, or are you still too
No,
busy?
so personally, freelance wise, no, I mean, one, busy, but yes. But two, I think just every business, I mean, I actually did some freelance recently, but that's the first time I've really had any freelance photography for breweries even reach out to me in a few months. Um, so I think people are just, just trying to
Yeah.
survive, and that might,
Yeah.
might be a extra expense that at this time, when you're buckling down and trying to save money because you don't know what's happening, which is
Sure.
unfortunate. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the update. I'm glad to hear that you are still doing well in Texas. Actually, we'll hope to see you come back here one of these days. So, Jake, it's your turn. Can you tell us something? What's going on? How you guys pivot as a brewery? Um, what's going on at Cooker Run?
So, like a lot of people, Virginia faced an initial period of lockdown for a couple months, and during that time, we pivoted 100% to go sales to cans. And at the start of it, I said to my partner, I said, maybe every glass of beer we used to sell in the tap room would become a can sold. And it actually kind of turned out that way. We just went to canning 100% everything, um, and it was fine, but it's a lot more labor, and cans cost money, so the margins just they're not as good. So it's enough to get by, but it's not what we were typically doing. So we started having weekly strategy meetings with all our management. First to go over what was going on with COVID, and then to look at our sales, really dive deep and kind of adapt what we were doing. And now I don't know how I got by without those meetings. They're like probably my favorite and most valuable meeting of the week. And it's allowed us to really kind of pinpoint, what we're doing. Um, so before we were like a very taproom focused brewery, with 2 locations and a good amount of seating and a restaurant as well. And at the start of 2020, we had our yearly, vision meeting with everybody. We were talking about where we wanted to go as a brewery, and we're like, yeah, let's get out of doing like, so much hype beer and do some more lagers, some West Coast IPAs, these beers that were like selling really well for us in the tap room. And we were all like really excited about that. And then when the pandemic hit, it was like, we just have to make kettle sour now. Like that's it. So we put that on hold, and it's fine. But the good news is that we started selling so much beer to go, even when we could reopen for draft, that like even doing 750 bombers of like mixed room stuff, which is like a lot of what we make, we still sold it, and we didn't really have to change that much. So I guess we're just kind of lucky because maybe we had kind of laid some of the groundwork for this before, just from what people were expecting from us. But in addition, I mean, as soon as we started to head towards fall. Like I don't really like put my foot down about like too much, within the company. But I said like, guys, we're getting tents and heaters right now, and we were all debating like what we should buy and how expensive it was going to be. And I said like, I don't care. Like we next weekend is going to be 40 degrees. If we don't have this stuff set up, this is October. It's like if we don't have this set up now, people are going to come out and they're going to remember they were freezing their ass off at Crooked Run, and it was a miserable experience. And even when we get heat, all those people were there for that time are going to be like, oh, that was the worst, and they won't come back. So we got that set up early, which was super helpful because our Virginia ABC allowed people to put up, this extra outdoor seating, which actually just increased massively the amount of seats we had at our place, like outdoors or not. We put an additional 72 seats outside, and we already had 80 already going. So it was it didn't entirely make up for lost sales, but it came kind of close, which is pretty
Yeah.
crazy. So I'm thankful that we were able to do that. And now, it's just too cold for like even heated
Yeah.
seats to be something that people really want to do. But got like a month left of it, and then we'll hopefully be back to where we were, in October, where I don't want to, I don't want to get too into everybody's opinion on the pandemic, but our case numbers were way lower back then, and people could hang out outside, and that I think is something that I can't wait to get back to personally, but just um, it's a reasonably as safe a way as people can do it.
Yeah. No, I've been doing outdoor sitting. It was massive, and getting a space that everybody can be socially distanced. So no, I love how you set up everything, and also the heater setup that you have there is amazing. So really good job on that.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Justin. Justin, I guess we know each other for like since we opened High Side, and
Feels like
was that
forever.
3 years
Yeah.
ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely, I know you changed job from different brewery to part of this distribution company. It must be a difficult year for all of you. Have to drive all this beer to all this bar while pandemic happening. So tell us more about what's going on last year for you guys.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, we had no idea it was going to turn out the way that it did when this all hit, as it affects everyone differently, but it
Mhm.
got crazy, really crazy for us. And luckily, we had just hired Ryan, who works with us, and he's our driver, and he's a workhorse, and he's young, got a strong back, and
Mhm.
thank God, because yeah, it got crazy to the effect that we didn't keep a lot of stock on hand, anyways,
Yeah.
but we just couldn't get enough beer into the warehouse and out to the accounts. It was disappearing. We were about a 50 to 50% ratio of draft and package, where we had to shift automatically to like 90%, and draft, I mean, just disappeared, as you all know. But yeah, so it's been an adjustment, and it's going to be interesting to see what the new norm is after this. But I'm just really looking forward to places to start opening again, and you being able to open your restaurant. It's been a bottle shop for over a year now, really, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy. But no, so yeah, just a lot of adjustment on the fly. We've you know with the festivals and stuff, we've met and established a lot of relationships from the Snallygasters, and anniversaries with breweries, and luckily we did that, and maintain relationships, because just we needed beer, and we reached out to a lot of these spots,
Mhm.
and they sent us beer, and we were very thankful for that, because it just
Mhm.
kept us running, and we haven't slowed down since, and we are so fortunate for that.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it was a crazy year. 2021 hasn't really slowed down yet, but we'll see what happens with the vaccines becoming more available, and places start opening up. We'd love to get draft back in, and
Mhm.
start operating at a more normal capacity. But needless to say, it wasn't great for everyone, but Allied as a whole, it was a good year, as far as the business
Mhm.
goes, and just the team that we have is amazing. Jake, Jensen, you've both met Ryan. He's just a killer
Mhm.
dude, and we work for two amazing dudes, the owners, Eric and Scott. They just get it,
Mhm.
and they never put us in a you know uh, uncomfortable situation, or force us to do
Mhm.
anything, because we're
Mhm.
out there, and
Yep.
it was definitely weird but they made sure that we, felt like, we weren't forced to do anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, I still remember when the pandemic first hit and we shut down the dining room before the governor make us to shut down. And I was scrambling looking for a solution. And I was like, okay, well, I need to sell beer to go because when you're at home doing nothing, you need beer. I know, I still remember like I have to drive to Richmond to pick up beer from you guys because
Yeah.
like we just sell out beer every week. Prior to pandemic happen, we probably sell like a case of beer a week, maybe. To the point that now we like selling at least like 30, 40, and 50 cases a week. It is like a totally game changer for us, and at least help us to bring in the revenue. So one thing, Justin, for you is I have noticed like because of the pandemic happening, a lot more brewery that normally would not distribute in Virginia start to showing up. Is that something that you guys reach out to, or they gonna reach out to you? Hey, we have so much packaged beer. Can you help me to sell some, basically?
So it was a lot of both. Honestly, in the beginning, we were scrambling, reaching out to, anyone we've worked with in the past. From just like bringing places like Great Notion to Snallygaster, and hey, can you send us a pallet or two of beer? Yeah, and but then as we started bringing all these brands on, people talk with each other. Like I'm just going to use an example. Will from Blaze, he's the head brewer at Blaze, introduced us to Gage, and it's just been just like that trickle down effect. It has worked perfectly, and just bringing in just these really cool breweries that people can't get their hands on. It's been in Virginia. You can get some of the top class breweries, at your local bottle shop. It's pretty mind blowing.
Yeah. No, like one thing about 2020 is that I mean the whole situation is pretty bad for everybody. But as a beer lover, I found that it's like very exciting because now we get to taste a lot of beer that normally don't come to Virginia, and you basically have to trade with other people or have to go out of state and pick them out. But now start to show down in Virginia bottle shop, and me converting my dining room as a bottle shop, I have access to all this beer, and when I look at it, it's like wow, this is hard to believe. If you think about a year ago or even 2 years ago, like you can get this beer, people was like would trade arm and legs for it, and now I can just buy it off the shelf, right? So it is pretty amazing for the standpoint from a beer lover standpoint. So for us, it's like obviously 2020 has been a rough year, and we are planning, want to plan ahead, and we are thinking about the next 6 months to 12 months and what we are planning on doing with the vaccination right now is available. um, at least for me, I'm thinking about after the end of the summer things gonna start to change up a little bit, and I'm probably gonna slowly reopen my dining room and kind of back to normal, and we'll have to figure out a way to put the bottle shop because it is such a success for us during the pandemic time, and we probably have to figure out a way to do something about it because people still I guess people are used to it now. They have expectation to say, hey, I want to get a 4-pack to go, you should able to have it. That's something that I kind of planning ahead of time, and for this summer I don't see us going to be doing too much of the indoor dining still, and it's probably not going to have too many parties for us, which we usually love to throw a party. That's kind of how I see it now. Gage, what about you? I know you have, your brewery is about to open and all the kind of plan coming in. What is your plan for the next 6 months to 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, as we have the tap room coming, we are not banking on indoor seating in any meaningful capacity. We'll certainly build it for 100%. I think we've got room for 40 seats, bar and otherwise in our spot. But we've already invested in outdoor furniture. I'm going to bet on sidewalk and street seating here for the immediate term, and hope that just by next winter, I don't need to build a big structure and buy a bunch of heaters and keep people outside. New York City has some weird rules around breweries getting the in-street seating, so we may not even have that opportunity. But I can't imagine that we'll be doing everything inside come warm weather, and the opportunity the city's given us to get it for free is nice.
Oh wow, okay. Well, I mean, being in New York City is tough because the density of the population is just like it's rough, and even having the winter right now is just so much snow there. It's pretty rough
It's
winter for you all.
It's 10 degrees outside, give or take. Someone somewhere in this city is eating dinner outside right now. More than one person. But not me.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for the update for the future stuff. And Liz, what about you? What's your plan for the near term?
Oh gosh, well, we actually Turning Point had right before COVID hit. It was a secret, but we actually are expanding to the space next door. So all the paperwork was
Wow.
signed right before COVID hit. So
Oh
that
wow.
was that was not an ideal situation.
Yeah.
So now they've been paying the lease on a space that's I think about 4 times bigger than the current space we have, and they've been kind
Wow.
of so COVID hit and the brakes obviously. I mean, it was like probably 3 weeks before COVID hit that they signed the papers. So they put the brakes
Oh,
on all of that, and only now are we just starting to break ground. And they just got the cold, yeah, like they're laying the drains, they're doing all that stuff. So we're hoping in the next 6 months or so to have that space opened up. It's nice because it also expands. We have with COVID happening, we didn't really have any outdoor seating pre-COVID, but the city has allowed us to put tables outside. So now we're going to have twice as or 3 times as much space outside to have tables outside. They just can't. You can't wait. Like, how long do you wait on an empty, huge, giant space before going
yeah.
ahead with it? So we'll be expanding. I think the old space keep as a like a private rental space, and we're going to keep brewing. We're going to keep that as the clean side production, and then the new space we're going to start getting into more spontaneous fermentation and all that stuff. So I mean, it's exciting. It's also really scary at the same time, just
Yeah.
because you don't know what's going to happen, and then it's a big plan that's been in the works
Yeah.
for a while. So that's from the brewery perspective. From a freelance photography perspective, I'm hoping, things start opening up and breweries start making more money, and I start maybe getting a little extra work here and there. So we'll see.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I definitely would love to see more of your work. I mean, you are one of the few like photography website that I follow. It's all the stuff that you showed has been incredible, and I think big part of it is help to build out Aslin too, like with all your awesome pictures on the social media. Those are great. Jake,
I appreciate
what
that.
about you guys? What about you guys at Cook Around? I know winter is right now, but I think the next few months to a year, what is your strategy right now to bring yourself back to normal, or the brewery back to normal?
I'm pretty excited about the next year. So we spent a lot of the downtime during the pandemic, just working on other projects, and a lot of those are starting to move forward. So I didn't really want to talk about this early, but I may as well. We're like a month out from getting our winery license. We got
Oh wow,
federal approval, and state approval should follow
nice.
pretty soon. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. So like we're gonna be doing like a lot of these low intervention wines. Whatever natural wine means, we are not gonna call them that. They're not made with organic grapes, but they are 100% natural fermentation and no sulfite additions. And we do this sub brand called Native Culture, which is basically all Virginia ingredients, no commercially available yeast, and an emphasis on spontaneous fermentation. And these wines will fall into that. And then in addition, we have plans to do cider as well and sake. And we
Wow.
also have our
Okay.
first seltzer coming out next week. We did like a super fruited seltzer called Tropic, and it tastes like juice. And I mean, it doesn't taste. Yeah, obviously, it's not beer because seltzer, but doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just alcoholic juice. And people seem to like that stuff, and it was pretty fun, like figuring that out, because we had to learn how to use a filter, which we had never done before. But yeah, we were working on that stuff. And another thing that was cool is like we have our first goose coming out this year. So goose has to feature a blend of 3, 2, and 1 year lambic style beer. I'm going to use quotes for all this stuff because like we can't call it goose or lambic because it's a protected regional term, but we
Right.
follow everything that Horrell or whatever dictates that lambic brewers have to do. So last year we released 2 beers, Drupelet and Garth, that were a Frambois and Creek style beer, and they were 100% Virginia malt, 100% Virginia fruit, and 100% Virginia microflora. And now that the weather finally got cold, we could actually get our cool ship beers in for the season. And I think we're on like batch number 13 for the year. So we've been cranking those
Wow.
out, and I want to give props to our production team for doing these turbid mash beers. Is brutal. It's a 12-hour affair to do them, and it's a labor of love. But we were so stoked with how the first 2 releases went that we just want to go all in on this. So we'll have some more of those coming out, and I'm pretty excited about that.
This is very exciting because last time when I visited you, we tried some of the beer. They are incredible. It's amazing. I'm glad you
Thanks,
guys
man.
keep doing that, and love to try some of your wine as well at some point. Speaking of hot seltzer, the other trend I'm seeing these days, a lot of like Asian flavor hot seltzer have been around, and just like maybe like past 2 weeks, I have like two different vendor. They came in and said, "Hey, we are doing only Asian flavor, Asian fruit flavor. They all have like lychee, yuzu, honeydew kind of flavor, and they taste pretty good actually. That might be
I
a good
had
market
I
for you
had
to
the
get in
yuzu
as
one.
well."
Yeah, I actually had the yuzu one that you got
Yeah,
like a couple days ago. It was pretty good.
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
just
pretty
don't
good,
know. I
right?
don't know a source for yuzu, but yeah, for sure.
We'll figure out. I have some contact.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Well, Justin, so it sounds like 2020 for you guys has been pretty good year in general because you're able to bring in a lot of brewery from our states and keep bringing a lot of good stuff that we are lucky enough to try. And what is your plan for the? I know you get some big plan coming up, and do you like to share? Well, what's going on?
Now, what are you hinting at? No, I mean, yeah. Well, just starting at the base, we have to. We're growing, so we're looking for more vehicles for our fleet. We just hired another guy to come on and just help with Richmond alone because each of our markets have just like grown, exponentially. And anyone who knows Scott with Allied, he's probably gonna hate me for saying this, but he's 62 years old, and this guy is out there in Richmond just dropping beer like you wouldn't believe. It's insane. He's a hustler. Um, but yeah, just so we're hiring another guy for Richmond. We were able to expand our cold storage. We had to do it quick because of just like it. We had to reach for beer wherever we could get it, and a lot of times it would come all at once, and we needed it to stay cold. So we have this big cold storage now. We're just going to continue to grow the footprint of the brands that we work with. There's a lot of underserved markets in Virginia that we would love to get some of these brands to. honestly, because they're just as crafty as Fairfax is, and or DC. But yeah, we have some really exciting breweries that we have signed as of recently that we haven't officially dropped into Virginia yet or DC, but we're really excited to bring these guys in. Everyone's just going to love them. They're just some killer brands. We really like to look for these brands that just deserve exposure, because there's so many breweries and cideries and meaderies out there that just they don't get the exposure that they deserve, and
Yeah.
I think Virginia and DC is like the perfect place to do that. So yeah, 2021 is going to be a lot of the same. We'll see how much more we grow, but yeah, just bringing in some new brands that we're really excited about.
That sounds very exciting. I mean, I would love to have more brewery coming to Virginia, and let us have access to all the good beer that we've been able to enjoy. But no, definitely would love to see you grow bigger and bring more beer. So we're probably about running out of time, but I just want to quickly round up and would like to hear what you guys have to say about the trend in 2020 that you are most excited about, even though 2020 is not the best year for most people. What is the best trend that you like? You saw and you think is a good trend that we should keep doing it? And also, what is your favorite drinks that you had in 2020? Gage, how about you go first?
So I think the proliferation of direct to consumer has been really, really cool. People are getting their hands on fresh beer from more breweries than ever before. The opportunity, I know not all states have given that, but shipping or to home delivery has made it easier for people in most places. I know not Texas, I'm sorry. But in a lot of places, it's really cool that if you are not a person who can go out to bars, or you've got too many other things in your life, you can get beer delivered to your home and you can get good stuff. There's nothing preventing you from enjoying that. That has been a very cool outcome here. And my favorite beer, I did I think probably Gear Patrol roundup brewers' favorite beers, and I said Origin Beer Project's oak aged Pilsner. It was their first beer that they came out with, and it was a 3.9% oak aged Pilsner, and that takes some real belief in yourself to come out with a Pilsner, let alone a cool oak aged Pilsner, and then at sub 4%. You really just came out of the gate saying, I know this will sell because it's good. I don't care how much work that requires out of me. So that was really cool. And they're great people. We talk all the time. They've got a dog mascot, and they're a couple, and lots of weird similarities between us and them. So I like them a lot.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. Liz, what about you? What's your favorite trend in 2020, and what do you think, what's your favorite drinks you had?
Oh gosh, I wish I was one of those people that could get the direct to consumer, but that's not the case. So I would say I really, really loved like all the social initiatives with the beer. So like the Black is Beautiful.
Yep.
I love trying every brewery's version of that. It, for whatever reason, the beer tasted better knowing it was for a good cause. I guess I have that like bleeding heart type. So that was probably one of my favorite things to see, just like so many people rallying around a really great social cause, whichever it may be, and everyone's spin on it. Also, from a photography perspective, I do love how breweries are getting like more into their look on social media and recognizing that like label design is important and good photography is important, and putting an emphasis on that. Like that's a really great trend that I hope continues happening. On to favorite beer, that's really hard. I will say I miss the Virginia beers. And I especially the Richmond, like I can't even tell you what I would give to like get up to like the answer for some of their like fruited
Juice.
stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, so we get a lot of beer dropped off at the brewery to try, and I've been really impressed with a lot of the Urban South, like the triple spills. I don't know if you guys have had any of those. It's kind of curbed my
Yeah.
hankering for that missing juice in my life.
Mhm.
And then not to shout out my own brewery, but probably the beer I drank the most this year was we started doing a series called Quencher, and it's like an electrolyte infused sports beer. And the lemon lime basically tastes like lemon lime Gatorade. So that's been
Mhm.
my like go to post run, mowing the yard, like
Mhm.
anytime I'm like outside doing something and it's a nice temperature, it's like, oh man, that's all I want to drink. It's like adult Gatorade. It's fantastic. So
Cool. Well, one of the things that you as like one of the few like female in the craft beer industries, I would love to see more of that trend, more women get involved, and now I see more and more brewery hire female brewer and get involved more in this, especially the
oh yeah.
Pinkwood
Hmm.
initiative. I love to see that more happening. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no,
Well,
that's great. And I'm a member of Pig Brutes, but I should go out more than that because it's a great thing.
yeah, no, I enjoy seeing more of those, and I really like. I think Uza Finch has more the head brewer and the lead brewer both female, so that's very exciting, and it's good to see that happening. All right, Jake, your turn. What do you like the most in 2020 as far as the trend, and also what's your favorite drinks? Doesn't have to be a beer.
I want that lemon lime Gatorade beer. I mean, that sounds really good. And if it gives you electrolytes, I'm totally on board. Um, well, both of you guys actually took two of the answers I was going to say, but I will say for 2020 trends, probably my favorite has just been like the real support that people have shown to craft breweries. I don't personally have much of a backup plan if this doesn't work out, so it's nice to see that people have gotten out there and continue to support us. And I know probably some people buying beer from us or from everybody didn't necessarily need to do it. They did it because they wanted to go out and they maybe had a secure source of income and they felt like let's get out and support our local brewery. And that was really good. And it also tells me that kind of, craft beer is not just a flash in the pan. It's not going away. I mean, yeah, it does get kind of ridiculous sometimes and within the industry and everybody's like, oh, like where are we going from here? It's this has to be like the pinnacle of craziness. Somebody's putting this in beer or whatever. But I think that it really is, you know, it's proof. This is proving that it's not going away. So that's been really nice. In terms of stuff I've enjoyed, they've gotten a lot of love recently, but Wheeling Spring and Walsh Family Wine, which is very, very close by, are two of my favorite places. During the summer, I was trying to get outdoors a lot, and on my way home, typically on a Sunday, I would pop by both those places and grab really, really nice, estate grown malt pilsner or the rosé or Chardonnay at Walsh. Just hang out in the sun and then head home. So if you live in our area, definitely check both of them out. Other than that, Green Zone in DC for cocktails, amazing, super nice people, incredible cocktails. They've got a small but robust heated setup outside right now, and just some of the best cocktails I've had.
Oh, wow. Well, cool. Thanks a lot for sharing that. Justin, what about you?
Yeah, some of the things I've enjoyed seeing through 2020 has been like just seeing all these places just adapt on the fly, and just the innovation, the creativity. Just regular pizza joints or just regular restaurants having when you walk in to pick up your food or walk, curbside pickup in your window, They have 3 shelves of beer to go. I mean, I wasn't seeing a lot of that before. I mean, just seeing that everywhere now has been really cool, and I kind of hope it stays. I've also enjoyed seeing how the virtual things have kind of played out. You do it frequently. Craft beer seller in DC. Shout out to Erica. She's an awesome person. She does a meet the brewers type event, and Russ down at Ouzelfinch. I mean, his virtual festival was just a huge hit, and just the box set you get of all these crazy beers from all over the country. It's just cool to see just all the creativity. So I hope that just continues, as it always has been a very creative industry. As far as favorite beers, yeah, so I'm from New Hampshire, and I frequently travel up there when I can to visit my mother, but I always go to Schilling Beer Co. in Littleton, New Hampshire. Shout out to Jeff and Stu and all the whole crew there. But my wife and I, Haley, went up there a little while back, and we just sat outside, and we probably each had 4 or 5 pours of their lamb beer, and I just can't get that taste out of my mouth. It was the best beer of 2020 for me. And whenever we can get it in Virginia, it's a huge hit. So that one stuck with me. And actually, they did a sub 4%er called Molly 8. It was a Pilsner that was just unbelievable. Just the flavor that comes through on a beer like that, and just the hard work, and like Gage said, that goes into something like that. It's really impressive.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for sharing it. One of the trend that I see is really big in 2020, at least from my standpoint. A lot more breweries start to do like lager, which is very exciting. And the other thing about how people start to turn around, start to embrace lager. And when we turn to a bottle shop and we order a bunch of lager, because mainly it's for myself to drink, but we keep selling out of them, like especially like Schilling. I would get like 5 cases that I was like, yeah, I probably would drink 2 of them, but then before I know it, it's all gone. And this has been a really good trend in 2020 from my standpoint, and how people embrace lager again, and people start to learn about the subtlety about the lager, how to appreciate it, how to enjoy it. That is something that I really like to see more going. And I know like Jake has been talking about that, would love to do more lager style beer. That's something that I hope in 2021 we can keep crushing it, and so we can drink more lager. Well, our time is about up, so I really appreciate you all joining us for these panel discussions. Really learn about breweries, and also like distributions, and also like Liz as a photographer. Definitely learn about what you guys been doing. Really appreciate you share this. So let's go the last round, maybe like a few words, and then we call it a day. Gage, back to you.
Oh, geez. Well, I just wanted to say, Jensen, thanks so much. Happy 3rd anniversary. Super cool to be introduced to you guys, Liz, Jake. I mean, I've known about Crooked Run for a long time. You guys seem very, very cool. Justin and I have been speaking via email for a long time, so it's cool to put a face to the name. So just happy to be included at anything at this point as a baby brewery. So thanks everybody.
Thank you. Liz?
Wow, I won't lie, I'm kind of jealous after hearing all the amazing beer that you guys are getting shipped to your door, can pick up at High Side. It's making me miss Virginia even more than I already was, but that's fine. Jensen, thank you so much for having me on. You have no idea how much I miss sitting at High Side after work, like every day of the week. And also the shrimp noodle dish you have, I swear that's like one of my like my most coveted missed meals. Of course, always like your amazing beer on tap too, but definitely that shrimp noodle dish.
Thank you.
It was awesome chatting with you guys. Jake, it was good
Mhm.
seeing you again. I would love to be at Cricket Run right now having a good beer. And Justin, if you need any good Texas beer, just saying.
Awesome. Jake.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks so much, Jensen, and congratulations. I love you and your whole staff so much. It's always so much fun hanging out with you all, and great chatting with everybody here. For this next year, like I just really hope that everything rebounds as quickly as it can, and I'm faithful that that's going to happen. And like I said, I think. Craft beer is really here to stay, and it's just so great being in this industry and doing all this. And I appreciate the kind words from you guys. And Gage, actually, the place I'm at right now, Andy's Pizza, it's my girlfriend's place. She has the beer buying here, and she would love to get your beer. She also has the cutest little French bulldog, Beauregard. He's yes. He's a white Frenchie. He's actually at my place right now, but I wish I could hold him up to the camera. But yeah, it was great chatting with y'all. And again, Jensen, congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. Justin.
Yeah, happy anniversary, man. Like I said earlier, it feels like I've known you forever. You've been very instrumental, just like in the growth, like for me personally in this industry, for Allied. It's just been a real pleasure working with you, and just I tell everyone that you're just one of the most respected dudes in the industry,
Thank you.
especially in Virginia, D.C. I mean, everyone loves working with you. So cheers to many more years of that. It was awesome meeting you guys. Gage, finally meeting you. Jake, we'll see you around. Liz, let's talk about some Texas beer.
Well, thank you much for everybody to take your time to talk to us and share your history, your story, and also your plan. We are so grateful to be able to work with you all. And thank you much for your kind word. And if you can survive this pandemic, I think we can survive anything. So thank you much. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I think we should be good to go. Well, I'm not sure you have beer. Cheers.
I know. It's like I'm done.
Perfect timing.